We're back to the Invested Fathers, episode 11. Happy Friday, everyone. Thank you so much for tuning in today. For those that have a 7-Eleven near you, I hope that you enjoyed your free Slurpee today, as today is National 7-Eleven Day. And if you didn't, a huge bummer for you. Before we go into today's doubleheader episode, I'd love to share some recent news about a work trip I just got back from out of town. I flew out earlier this week to Kansas City, Missouri, and toured a property out there that I'm investing into with my partner, Caleb Edwards, and his team. If you missed my recent episode with Caleb in episode 9, go back and check it out and listen to his story about how he got started into real estate and just his story of being a dad. It's really good. He's raised a ton of money and is just building an amazing business right now with his team. His company is called Oak IQ. My mind was blown when I got to see with my own eyes all the stuff that they are doing. He picked up me and a few other guys that are fund managers at the airport in a big Sprinter van. We just had a blast. We spent 3 days touring all the apartment properties together with his team. It was one of the best trips I've ever been a part of, getting a more in-depth look into what it takes to do this stuff firsthand. I spent hours talking with different team members, understanding the different roles everyone plays, and just going in depth with like their business plans and their strategies on the different properties. I mean, some were value add, big apartment complexes, and there were a few that were new development. One has not even started yet, and one is a few months in. And it's just really cool to see the size of these projects. Huge. They have some really amazing opportunities that are in the pipeline right now. And I'm very excited to just be a part of what they're doing. If you're not following me on Instagram, go ahead and find me at Kenny Will Johnson, or you can also find me on LinkedIn. I'll be posting some more photos and videos on my trip there. And if you have any interest in finding out more information about these investment opportunities, shoot me a message on there and we'll set up a time to jump on a call. Today's episode will be a double header discussing two different topics. The first will highlight my worldview on investing through the lens of what the Bible teaches. The second part will be a rundown of frequently asked questions that I get. And now for episode 11. Are you a hardworking dad, juggling family responsibilities while dreaming of building wealth through real estate? Welcome to the Invested Fathers podcast, where we explore how to balance investing and fatherhood. I'm your host, Kenny Johnson, founder of East West Capital. Over the past 5 years, I've been buying real estate to free up my time and secure my family's future. Now I'm here to help you do the same. Join me as we navigate the real estate world together, building wealth and strengthening our families. As my grandma always said, East West, home's best. I wanted to share about my worldview on being a wise steward. And what are we teaching our kids about that topic? Being a wise steward of your resources, of what God's giving you. We're a homeschool family. My wife loves being a mom, and she's awesome at it. And on Tuesdays, she goes to a church meetup with other moms, and I stay home with my son, and we do homeschool. The curriculum we use is a Bible-based curriculum, and we start off every lesson with some scriptural truth with a different theme each week. So this week, the theme is Jesus the Servant. And we read a passage in Matthew 25 that has Jesus speaking about the parable about the talents. A quick summary on what this parable is all about in Matthew 25. There is a master planning a trip, and he has 3 servants that he brings together before he leaves. And he gives each of them a large amount of money. They call them talents. And a talent is 20 years of wage. About $1.2 million is one talent. So to the first servant, he gives 5 talents. To the second servant, he gives 2 talents. And to the last one, he gives 1 talent. The master leaves, and the first servant doubles his money. The second servant does the same. And the third servant just buries it in the ground and waits for his master to return. And when the master returns, he meets the first 2 and says, "You guys are awesome. Great job. You used what I gave you." And to the third servant, he says, "You wicked and slothful servant. You ought to have at least invested it in the bank." So he took the talent from him and gave it to the guy with the 10 talents. And he says, "For to everyone who has will more be given, and he will have an abundance. But from the one who has not, even what he has will be taken away." And he cast the worthless servant into the outer darkness, in that place where there will be weeping and gnashing of teeth. So it got me thinking, what are my views that are influencing my son on being a good steward of my resources? These are a few points I came up with on that. The first one is God entrusts us with his blessings. So what are we doing with them? The parable of the talents highlights that God has given us varying abilities and resources like the talents and expects us to use them wisely and productively. 1 Peter 4:10 says, each of you should use whatever gift you have received to serve others as faithful stewards of God's grace in its various form. This verse emphasizes using our gifts not just for ourselves, but also for the benefit of others. Next point I have is wise management is key. Proverbs 21:20 says, the prudent person stores up choice food and olive oil, but fools gulp theirs down. This verse promotes responsible planning and avoiding wastefulness. That could be subscriptions, not keeping a good budget. That could be just not even having a plan, just sort of mindlessly acting each day. Luke 16:10-13 says, whoever can be trusted with very little can also be trusted with much. And whoever is dishonest with very little can also be dishonest with much. So if you have not been trustworthy in handling worldly wealth, who will trust you with true riches? This passage emphasizes that faithfulness in managing small things translates to handling greater responsibilities as well. Some of you might be in a thriving job that you are a technician of some kind, or you have your own business. You're a small business owner, or you're a traveling salesman, or a mortgage broker. It doesn't really matter what it is. You're working, and there's being a good steward of your time, and there's being a good steward of your talents and abilities or your gifts, and then a good steward of your money that I think all come into play here. So in regards to real estate, let's look at the first point I have is conduct thorough research if you're looking at investing. Proverbs 18:15 says, the heart of the discerning acquires knowledge, for the ears of the wise seek it out. This verse encourages actively seeking knowledge and understanding, which could translate to researching market, property potential values, and potential risks involved in real estate investments. Seek professional guidance. Proverbs 11:14 says, for lack of guidance, a nation falls, but victory is won through many advisors. Consulting with experienced financial advisors or real estate professionals can provide valuable insights and help you navigate the complexities of the market. This is a truth that I think goes well beyond real estate. Surrounding yourself with wise counselors. If you are more naturally introverted or prefer just being by yourself and maybe avoid just people in general or sounding stupid, maybe pride, you won't go as far and you'll maybe hit your head against the wall or make mistakes. If you're seeking people out who can help you, who are very good at what they do and who you trust and respect, these are the type of people God wants you to be around to help in your ability to be a good steward of the gifts and abilities that he has given to you. The third point I have is invest with a purpose. 1 Timothy 5:8 says, if anyone does not provide for his relatives, and especially his immediate family, he has denied the faith and is worse than an unbeliever. This verse emphasizes using resources to take care for oneself and one's family. Your purpose might be, I want to provide financially for my family. I also want to provide my time and energy for them as well. So consider your investment goals and the purpose behind them. Are you looking to generate supplemental income, build long-term wealth, provide a safe, happy future for your family in some type of retirement? And on top of those goals, what are your investment goals outside of finances? Sometimes we don't equate investing into anything outside of money. So the questions could be, are you able to spend time with those that you want to spend time with, like your parents or your kids more or your wife? Our marriages won't just get better on their own without working on them and investing into them. Are you focusing on your health and nutrition? Do you have time for that? What is it that you're pouring your time into that you're looking for those specific returns to come back? These are the things that we want to be thinking about. The biggest game changer for me was I was able to free up some of my time from not working those 50 to 60 hours a week, where I could start focusing on these other aspects of my life. Remember, the Bible emphasizes responsible stewardship, and while it doesn't provide specific investment advice, it encourages informed decision-making, seeking guidance, and using resources for the benefit of oneself and others. I want to end with this story. My son says to me, Dad, what are some ways I can do something to make money? And that's like one of my favorite questions because it's drives this motivation of him wanting some type of toy. My son is 7, but no one's just going to give him $20. But hey, if you want $10 to buy this thing, you need to think about some ways to help others. Obviously, there's things that you can do to be a good neighbor and not expect money, but is there a service or an item that you can make or provide for someone on the street or a friend or a family member? His motivation right now is perler beads, and he wants to make more perler beads that are Mega Man focused. So that's what we're doing right now. My key takeaway for you all in telling that story is reflect on who you are and how you're using your resources today for others. Be a good steward of what God's given you. And from my experience, there's no greater joy than serving your family, serving your neighbors, and serving God. So let's do that the best that we can. Hello, everybody. We're going to be addressing frequently asked questions I get on getting started into real estate investing passively. I'm also going to be going over some key terms to understand on the return metrics of deals. Question for you all. Do any of you have a sick kid at home right now? Maybe your kids are grown up to a degree. Maybe they're not infants or babies that are getting runny noses every other day. But you know what? Age doesn't even matter. When your kids are sick, your plans for the day dramatically change. I just spoke with an investor who's been going down this road for about 3.5 weeks. His son gives it to his other son, who gives it to his sister. It's just a process. So I want to say, if you're a parent dealing with this right now, you are an unsung hero, and I applaud you for what you're doing. Here's the reality. Our kids get sick. Our schedule gets overbooked. You're looking for a way to protect your time and prioritize what needs to get done. Spending time learning about real estate, you might say to yourself, hey, I'd rather be going golfing or taking your wife out on a date. I want to expedite this process and just cover a few basics to get you on the runway of real estate investing. So here's a question I get asked a lot. I want tax benefits. So do I need to set up an LLC to get started in real estate? Short answer is no. You do not have to do this. Would it help you? Yes, it makes things cleaner, neater. Your CPA would probably recommend this. There's things that you can be claiming, costs that could go into the business as an investor. So this is a great question for your CPA, but I will say if that's been what's holding you back on getting started, blow that one out of the water and just go ahead and get started on your first investment. Next question is, this deal that I just looked at, it says I get a 5 to 7% cash on cash return with an expected 15 to 20% IRR. I don't know if that's good or not. 5% seems pretty low. All right, so let's understand the returns on deals, some of these terms. Cash on cash is how much you make in a year on the investment. So if you're investing $100,000, but the first year you get 0%, obviously you made 0% of cash on cash. The next year you made 12% cash on cash return. So you got $12,000 on year 2. And then the third year, your cash on cash return was 8% because you only made $8,000. The cash on cash is what you make in that year. Annual average return is pulling all those together, 0 plus 12 plus 8, and dividing that by 3. So 20 divided by 3. Sorry, that's not a good example. Your internal rate of return, IRR, this number factors in time. So if your deal is 5 years long, the money from year 1 to the money from year 5 is going to look a little different with a 3% inflation against that money. This is just a formula that gives you this number. I cannot tell you exactly how the number is derived with math equations, but this is a pretty accurate number of what you're going to get back through time, inflation. Next one would be preferred return. This is a term that's usually in syndications. And if someone says, hey, you get a 7% preferred return on this deal, that means the general partners on the deal are guaranteeing you 7% of what you've invested on your deal before anyone else gets paid. If there's something that goes unexpected where the money is not as prevalent as they were hoping it would be, you're still getting 7% on your capital. So that number kind of gives you a little bit of peace of mind. And of course, you get your capital back at the end. I get asked this question every now and then. How do capital raisers get paid? If you're investing in a fund or with a capital raiser like myself or into a deal, the capital raisers get a better class share by bringing larger checks. So if they get $500,000 to invest into a deal, they may get better returns in which they can pay back their investors that are with them while still keeping a cut for themselves, some type of cut. And it varies on deal to deal. Typically, the way it is structured is if you invested individually into a deal, let's just say $100,000, your returns would be less by going individual than investing with a group of people into a fund. All right. Those are the main questions I wanted to go over today. Why does any of this matter? The more knowledge you have on the process of how money works through real estate investing, the easier it will be for you to take action into your first or your next investment. Thank you for listening to this episode of the Invested Fathers podcast. If you like this episode, we would love for you to click subscribe and leave us a 5-star review. We appreciate all of your hard work as a father and look forward to our next episode together.